Your budget shouldn't restrict your life, and whoever taught you that it should literally did you dirty. But because a budget can literally change your life by helping you achieve financial stability, in this video I'll show you how you can create a budget that helps you reach your financial goals while still enjoying your best life. I first created my budget when I moved out at 18 and moved to a different country because I had to live on a very tight budget. Since then, I've worked hard, literally worked my ass off, and I've started earning more, but I've always been very mindful of lifestyle inflation, which is basically what happens when you earn more and you immediately spend more. In order to combat this, I've always had a budget and I've tried to always live below my means. I've never been a fan of tracking every single expense and looking at every 10 cents that you spend because I feel like that is a little bit too much. You know, those 10 cents in the long term are not going to make that much of a difference, to be completely honest with you. But over the last 3 months, I've actually really tracked my budget every single month. I've created a new budget tracker that I've been using that actually helps me have an overview of what I'm spending and what is coming in, and it helps me decide what I can do with my money. Having a budget tracker like this can help you massively. So if you're looking for one, you can grab the one that I'm using in my bio. It has an overview for every single month. You can track your income, you can track your cash flow. But what we're gonna be looking at today is just the budget, so the bottom section. Here we track savings and investments, expenses, bills, and debt. Because there have been some changes in my life recently, I'm literally packing to move out right now. I've gotten a new job. It is time to actually create a brand new budget from this month going forward. So this is what I'm going to be doing with you today. We're going to talk about how to create a budget, why you should create it, what are like some little tips and tricks, what are some mindset changes so that you can also do this for yourself literally from zero. And in case you're wondering why you should listen to a random person on the internet, I've been obsessed about personal finance since I was 18. It's just been a way for me to want to do better with my life, to not be stuck in a very negative cycle. And I'm also completing my master's studies in economics. So I genuinely have a very research grounded way of approaching my budget. Let's start with maybe the most important thing, which is debt. Now, I'm grateful to not have accumulated any debt, also because I did not really have to pay tuition while I was studying. I paid very little because I studied in Europe, and I do pay very high taxes for that. But bottom line is I'm grateful for not having that. However, I know that a lot of people have that, especially through student loans or through some sort of personal loan. And in case you have that, this should genuinely be your priority, especially if you have that with really high interest rates. We're talking like 20% interest rates. The best way to go at it is to pay that off before you start saving, because otherwise the interest payments just accumulate, right? Like you're just paying more and more, and that can really hurt you financially in the long term. If you have that with lower interest payments, I think it definitely makes sense to consider not paying it off early or not as soon as possible, especially if the interest rate is around inflation rate, you know, it's like 2-3%. You're actually not really losing that much money. Then I really think it should just be a personal decision. Do you want to pay off your debt or do you want to save? These are the two options, but because debt tends to cause people a lot of mental load, a lot of mental stress, I do think personally, but again, this should be a personal decision, that it makes sense to pay off the debt first. Now, let's go to bills. These are the things that are absolute needs. There are some very typical rules of budgeting. A lot of people say you should have like 50% of your salary going towards your needs. Let's see how I would build this. Actually, as I'm moving out, my rent payment is gonna go down. This has been increasing and increasing for the last year, and it's time to cut it out. So I'm actually extremely happy that this is going down to 550 euros. Then heating, trash, etc. is gonna be also included in that payment. I love it. This is amazing. Electricity, I'm gonna put like 30 a month. I think it's gonna go down because in my current apartment, I have a lot of things that run on electricity, like I have electric blinds. And I think without those, the electricity bill is gonna go lower. A lot of times there's not much flexibility to change. So just go ahead and put your actual costs down. You know, then after you see how much you're spending on a monthly basis, you can actually decide if you want to try to maybe get some like cheaper, maybe internet or electricity contract somewhere, or if you're gonna possibly like look for another apartment that's cheaper. If these needs really go over 50% of your income, I do think it makes sense to maybe look for some options. Like for instance, phone bills. I was recently on a call with my internet provider and I was calling from a number that's registered to another phone company. So, you know, by the end of the call, they actually gave me like a really good offer. I could have gotten like unlimited internet and a phone plan for like 10 euros a month if I switched to my internet provider for my phone as well. So you can do something like this, you know, you can maybe like call up your internet on your phone company and say like, hey, I want to actually cancel my contract. They might genuinely just offer you a really good deal just to get you to stay. You can do this even if you didn't actually want to cancel your contract, just to see if maybe you get a better deal. Is this toxic? No, this is good negotiation. Okay, health insurance. I've put 200 euros here because I care a lot about health and wellness, and I do think that this is something worth spending on. The way I approach this is I always think it's better to get like good healthcare now than to have like really big problems later on that might not even be solvable. Like healthcare, sadly, is not free everywhere. And it's also not good everywhere. But I do think that this is a priority, at least for me. Like I'm willing to spend more in healthcare and not go out that much, you know, that's totally fine. This is why I think my health insurance budget is very high. But the thing is, my health insurance for my employer actually doesn't cover that much. It's for some reason really bad. Even though we do have free healthcare, I'm still paying 10% of like the free healthcare because my insurance only covers 90%. It's a very weird thing. But then I was thinking, honestly, if I pay just like a little bit more, I can get private health insurance. I don't have to wait for months in order to get an appointment. Car insurance, 45 euros a month. No, actually it's 50. Why did I put 45? Then I have the Metro Pass, which is 26 euros a month. This is gonna stay like this. Also ignore the dates. Here I will typically just like click on it and then I'll choose the date of the payment, like when the money actually went out of my account. These are messed up because I just like copied and pasted some things from my old budget onto here so I can have like a little building block. A Mahnung is what you get when you miss a payment. I had missed the email where they said they increased rent again. And so I paid, I think it was 20 euros too little, and I had to pay a 15 euro fine because of this. I'm gonna go ahead and delete this. This is not in my budget. I really hope this is not gonna happen again. It was kind of my fault for missing the payment, but honestly, 20 euros, like, come on. With bills, I include basically everything that is recurring. So I have Grammarly. I'm currently writing my master thesis. This is a non-negotiable. I love Grammarly Pro. It really helps me. I might cancel this if I'm not a student anymore and I don't need it for work, but I do genuinely love this thing and it makes my life so much easier. And on internet, I will have to keep paying this. I think I'm paying like 53 to 58 euros a month. It's extremely confusing. And then internet also includes a Disney Plus subscription, which I might cancel, but it's a whole weird thing. It runs through like my internet provider and I can cancel the Disney Plus subscription, but I cannot cancel the internet yet. Complicated thing. But these are basically like my non-negotiable costs. Oh wait, I made a mistake. This health insurance should be 100 because I've done some research. I haven't yet signed a contract, so let's see. But I think 100 should be fine. So with this, I think I'm in the green. This is less than 50% of my income. So even though it is a little bit high, I'm happy with spending this, especially because I live in a pretty expensive city, I have to say. My camera died. All right, let's now continue with the expenses. Ideally, you kind of already have an idea about what you're spending on a monthly basis. But for instance, if you're currently, let's say you're moving out from your parents' place and you have no clue how much you spend on groceries, you know, just Google like what the average grocery bill is in your area. Also, definitely think about which categories are important for you. There are people who would prefer to spend more on groceries and the gym. Other people might prefer to spend more on experiences. I really think that there's no such thing as one size fits all. A lot of these categories are actually very necessary. You know, you can always argue that it's not necessary to eat more expensive things. It's not necessary to eat organic things. But if someone wants to do that, then honestly, go ahead. As long as you budget for it and you're not gonna destroy your finances doing that, oh my god, like do whatever you want. If someone wants to spend like a shit ton of money on some hobby that they have, like, oh my god, go ahead. I really dislike those really harsh finance gurus because at the end of the day, money is there to help us live a life that we love. That's my belief about money. Money is just something that helps us to get certain things. It should be used as such. Of course, it's good to save, so you don't have to worry about money in the future. Also, if you save and invest, especially while you're young, that money is gonna get you really far because your investments will double every 10-ish years. It can really set you up for long-term financial success. But by all means, spend money and budget for expenses that you genuinely want to have because they make your life a little bit better, a little bit more fun. With that in mind, let's go over everything. I checked, and over the past 3 to 4 months, I've only spent 250 euros on groceries every single month. There was even a month where I was traveling and I spent 150 only, but then I spent way more on restaurants. Then additional utilities, honestly, I think I've calculated everything in this bills section. So actually I'm just gonna have like 30 euros a month. Sometimes there are recalculations that only get done once a month. So I think it is good to budget and to just set some money aside for these types of emergency payments. If I don't spend this money on a monthly basis, I will just put this into my emergency fund. I like to have an emergency fund where I have 6 months worth of living expenses easily accessible to me at any point in time in case something happens, I think it's just important to have some cash on the side so that in case something comes up that's maybe not in your budget, you can actually cover it and don't need to go into debt. Now, dining out, I do have to say I love going out with people, especially. I love just sitting there talking, eating a nice meal. I think this is something that's like totally worth spending money on. I think 100 euros is actually a good estimate. Honestly, I think 100 is a very decent amount. Let's see how it goes. Home supplies, 100. I feel like that is a little bit high because I already have furniture in the place that I'm moving to. I will actually not have to spend a lot on additional stuff. Also, I don't really plan on adding a lot of decor to that place. Into home supplies, I also consider things like detergent and cleaning supplies and all of that. But honestly, how often do you even buy it? I think probably I buy them every couple of months, like maybe every 3 months I spend like 20 euros on them. Honestly, I'm so fed up with my own gym. I was going to a more expensive, fancy gym, and I do think in the beginning it was totally worth it, but the quality has just gone downhill. It's so full, it's overrun. I can never use a sauna because it's tiny and there are always 2 people inside of there when I'm trying to go. I don't find the gym hygienic. I was literally doing handstands a while ago, and every time I was breathing, so I was like, head down, and every time I was breathing, I could see the dirt particles moving on the floor. I think no one cleans, and so I just think at that point it's just too expensive for what it is. So I'm actually gonna go back to my really boring, really basic gym. I feel like I'm the frugal influencer. What's he called? Bradley on a budget. I do have to say, I do think it's totally worth it to spend more money on gyms, especially if you spend a lot of time there. It's nice to have a sauna area and to have some nicer locker rooms and to not only have one hair dryer but to have 3 of them, and to have a shower that's actually hygienic. But if you're paying a lot of money for something that's like the same quality as something that is cheaper, might as well go for a cheaper thing. Personal care, honestly, 100. I don't know if this is necessary. Let me put 70. I think for skincare and everything like that, it should be fine. Clothing, 100. Yeah, I think this checks out. I think I definitely go over that budget every now and then. I'm still trying to build my wardrobe of high quality pieces. And now with summer coming, I actually need to buy a bunch of like t-shirts, basic t-shirts, work stuff, because now I'm working a bit more, so I need even more work shirts and work appropriate clothing and pants. So actually I'm gonna raise this to 200 just because I feel like now I'm gonna enter a period of just shopping more, and so I want to, accommodate that within my budget. And I think these things make sense. Sometimes there are periods where you need to invest more into something and then at some point you don't spend that much money on it. Like if you move, for instance, there are going to be a lot of expenses that come up in the first couple months after moving until you decorate everything. But then you can start spending a little bit less on it and maybe even being conscious of not constantly buying new things for your apartment or your house. And I feel like it's the same with clothing. So yeah, I'm not always trying to just spend as little money as possible. I'm trying to still accommodate my lifestyle while being smart about it. I think that is the essence of things. Hobbies, 100. I'm totally fine with this. I usually spend money on tennis, on movie tickets. Sometimes we do things like wine tasting. Is that a hobby? I don't know. These types of things, experiences that you have, I think that is totally fine. And then I also have entertainment. Honestly, this is kind of the same thing, but entertainment kind of refers to like concerts, events, this type of stuff. Like sometimes there's a coffee festival that I like to go to. If I don't spend this money, I just accumulate it because every now and then I will buy, for instance, concert tickets. I recently bought concert tickets for my brother and I to go to see Pitbull, which is gonna be so cool. Anyway, Zara refund. I think this was a one-time thing last month. This should not necessarily be in my budget. Then we have Apple and subscriptions. So Apple is the Apple iCloud storage thingy, which I need. Honestly, this is kind of a business expense actually. I'm an influencer. Surprise. Oh my god, that scared me. I don't know if you heard that. Someone just like absolutely smashed their door. Yeah, I need a lot of storage. Actually, I have the 0.5 terabyte iPhone and it's nowhere close to enough storage. Subscriptions, this is Amazon Prime, especially because where I live, stores close on Sunday and also Saturday after 6 p.m. And so every single time I'm trying to find some like random stuff, I don't know, some type of screw or something like that, I always go to Amazon because I know I will find it there and I won't have to like run around trying to look for something on a Saturday where everyone is out and about. Then we have trip to Bratislava. Again, this was a one-time thing last month. So how I do this also, if expenses come up throughout the month that actually have no category, I will just add a category here and then I can just log it. I will usually log it with budget 0 and then actual expense like whatever it was, right? Now, my last and maybe my favorite category is savings. I have an emergency fund that I actually have in a high yield savings account. So basically my money earns interest, but I always have access to it. I can take out the money at any point in time. I don't have to wait for a specific date. But basically everything else goes into investments because there the expected rate of return is higher and I like to be smart about my finances. I think investing is probably the best thing you can do with your money. So my goal for this year was to invest at least 1,000 euros every single month into the stock market. I'm grateful that now I'm in a position to do so, but I do have to say I started with like 18. I would pay in 50 euros every single month and I did see it growing. Like there's no such thing as too little money to start. If you want to start investing, you can definitely do it with just a little bit of money that you might have saved. When it comes to investing, there's always the risk of losing money. Do not put yourself in a situation where you could literally run into issues like existential issues if you lose money. Stock market is volatile. It goes up and down. Typically long term, the return is positive, but like the world nowadays is really crazy. So while I do think it is the smartest thing you can do with your money, you know, don't just leave your money on a bank account to just rot there because then it's basically just losing money because of inflation. Invest, but do it in a smart way. Don't listen to random people on the internet. I know I'm also a random person on the internet. Always do your research. Especially if you're looking to invest long term, don't buy some random crypto coins. Don't buy into hypes. Usually when you hear about a hype, you know, when you're like, oh my God, AMC and GameStop, usually at that point, it's already too late to invest. People who are investing at that point are just losing money. You know, invest smartly. I typically invest into a lot of ETFs. These are broad index funds. Basically, it's like you get a basket of a bunch of different things. And so risk is spread out. Of course, the return is also going to be lower, but it's always a risk and return game. Usually when the risk is higher, your return is also gonna be higher. When the risk is lower, like for instance, if you just leave your money into a high yield savings account, the reward is also going to be lower. You need to consciously make a decision about what you want. This really depends on your living situation, on your employment status, on your age. I think right now I can maybe be a little bit riskier with my investments. So sometimes I also don't buy only ETFs. I also buy like actual stocks. I've also bought some crypto, you know, just to like try out things, but I'm not the biggest risk taker. And this is what you need to decide for yourself. If you want to go safe bet, then honestly, maybe just leave your money in a high yield savings account. Maybe that's enough for you. I cannot tell you what you should do. I can just tell you what I've done and what works for me. Just a side note, the smartest thing you can do with your money is to actually pay yourself first, which means when you get your paycheck, first you're spending money on investments and you're putting money into your savings account. Whenever you have a paycheck, money goes out into your savings account, then the rest of the money is budgeted for. You know exactly how much you're gonna spend on bills, how much you're gonna spend on lifestyle expenses. You have enough money to get through the month to get again to the point where money comes in and money goes first into your savings account and then gets spent on lifestyle expenses. Obviously, this only works if you've budgeted according to your lifestyle, but honestly, I think if you follow this guide, you're gonna be just fine. So now, girl, go out there, take charge of your finances. Don't forget to get the budget tracker that will support you in reaching your financial goals, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye!